Do you ever feel rich on paper, but anxious when you check your monthly bank balance? It is a strange feeling to look at a net worth statement and see a large number while still worrying about the price of groceries. Many people across the United States and Europe are living this exact paradox every single day. They have followed all the traditional rules of being responsible and working hard for decades. They bought a home, they paid their bills on time, and they avoided dangerous debt. Yet, they find themselves hitting an invisible ceiling where their financial progress simply stops moving forward. This is the wealth plateau that almost everyone hits, and most do not even realize it is happening. The problem is not that you are lazy or that you have failed in your career. The problem is that you might be following a map that was designed for a different era. You have been told that your home is your greatest asset and the ultimate sign of success. While owning a home is a wonderful accomplishment, it can also become a beautiful cage for your capital. Today, we are going to look at the cold, hard data from the Federal Reserve to understand why this happens. We will explore how your home equity can actually prevent you from achieving true financial freedom. And most importantly, we will look at how you can break through this ceiling to build wealth that actually pays you back. If you have ever wondered why your hard work is not translating into more freedom, this conversation is for you. Let us begin by looking at the numbers that define the average household today. According to the Federal Reserve, the median net worth in the United States is approximately $192,000. On the surface, having nearly $200,000 sounds like a solid foundation for a family. It represents years of discipline, stability, and a sense of pride for many households. But when we look closer at where that money actually sits, the picture changes dramatically. For the vast majority of these families, that wealth is not sitting in a bank account or a stock portfolio. It is tied up almost entirely in the walls of their home. Their home equity represents nearly all of their net worth, leaving them with very little liquid cash. This is what we call being house rich and cash poor. You have built a significant amount of wealth, but it is locked away where you cannot reach it. You cannot take a piece of your kitchen cabinets to the store to buy your dinner. You cannot use the drywall in your living room to pay for an emergency medical bill. Unless you sell your house or take on a new loan, that equity remains completely stagnant. It is a dead asset that does not contribute to your daily lifestyle or your retirement income. This is the first brick in the invisible ceiling that stops your progress. Most families reach this stage by following simple, common-sense habits that feel very safe. They earn a decent income, they save a little bit here and there, and they buy a house as soon as they can. In the early years of home ownership, this feels like a massive victory. As property values rise and you pay down your mortgage, your net worth seems to jump higher every year. That initial feeling of success creates a narrative in your mind that you have made it. You tell yourself that as long as the house is being paid off, you are on the right track. But this sense of achievement is exactly where the danger begins to hide. When you believe you have reached the finish line, you often stop being intentional about further growth. You stop looking for ways to invest your money in assets that actually grow and compound over time. Instead, you start focusing on maintaining the lifestyle that your house represents. This leads to a subtle but destructive phenomenon known as lifestyle inflation. As your income rises and your housing costs stay fixed, you suddenly find yourself with more breathing room. This extra money should be going into investments that build your future. However, it often gets swallowed up by the creeping expansion of day-to-day spending. The house needs new furniture, the driveway needs a nicer car, and the weekends need more expensive dinners. Without a clear plan, the money that could have built exponential wealth is spent on short-term comfort. You are working harder to maintain a lifestyle that is expanding to match your income. This is the moment when the invisible ceiling hardens and becomes almost impossible to break. Investing now feels difficult because your money is already spoken for by your choices. Think about a couple in their 50s who have lived in their home for 20 years. They have a huge amount of equity, but their retirement accounts are dangerously low. They assume that because their home is worth a lot, they will be fine when they stop working. But a paid-off home does not provide a monthly check to cover your expenses. It does not pay for travel, healthcare, or the freedom to pursue your passions. Relying solely on your home for your future is like trying to drive a car with no fuel in the tank. The car looks great in the driveway, but it is not going to take you where you need to go. To break through this plateau, we must shift our strategy from saving to true investing. The first million is always the hardest, because it requires you to build new habits from scratch. It requires the discipline to say no to social signaling and yes to your future self. You have to learn how to resist the urge to match the spending of your neighbors. Real wealth is not found in the things people see. It is found in the freedom they cannot see. Once you reach your first major milestone of invested assets, everything begins to accelerate. This is the power of compounding interest at a large scale. When you have $100,000 invested, a 10% return is $10,000. That is a nice bonus, but it probably will not change your life immediately. But when you have $1 million invested, that same 10% return is $100,000. Suddenly, your money is earning more in a single year than many people earn from a full-time job. This is the tipping point where your wealth starts doing the heavy lifting for you. You move from being the primary engine of your wealth to being the pilot of a self-sustaining machine. The journey from 1 million to 2 million often happens in less than half the time it took to reach the first million. This acceleration is only possible if you have assets that can actually grow, like stocks or index funds. Your home equity cannot do this because its growth is limited by the local real estate market. A home generally appreciates at a rate of 4% per year over the long term. In contrast, a diversified stock portfolio has historically returned around 10% per year. Over 20 years, that difference in percentage creates a massive gap in your total wealth. Breaking the ceiling requires you to stop viewing your home as your primary investment. Instead, you should view it as a place to live while you build your real wealth elsewhere. The best time to start this shift is immediately, regardless of where you are in your journey. If you have extra income, do not put it toward paying off a low-interest mortgage early. Instead, put that money into a brokerage account or a retirement fund where it can compound. Take advantage of tax-advantaged accounts like a 401k or a Roth IRA. These are the tools that build true exponential wealth that you can actually spend. You also need to be honest about your spending habits and where your money is going. Small luxuries and daily indulgences may feel harmless in the moment, but they have a high cost. Every dollar spent on something you do not need is a dollar that cannot work for you in the future. This does not mean you should live a life of deprivation or misery. It means you should be intentional about what truly brings you value and joy. Spend money on experiences and security rather than on things that depreciate and clutter your life. As your income rises, make it a rule to increase your investments alongside your lifestyle. If you get a raise, put half of it into your future and use the other half to enjoy today. This balanced approach allows you to upgrade your life while also upgrading your freedom. Many people fear the stock market because they have heard stories of people losing everything. They choose the perceived safety of cash or real estate because it feels more tangible. But holding too cash is a guaranteed way to lose purchasing power due to inflation. And relying only on real estate makes you vulnerable to a single market downturn in your specific city. True security comes from diversification and staying the course during market volatility. The market will go up and it will go down, but over time, it has always moved higher. The invisible ceiling is often a mental barrier, as much as it is a financial one. It is the belief that you have done enough just because you are doing what everyone else is doing. But if you want to be above average, you cannot follow the average path. The average person reaches their 60s and realizes they do not have enough to truly retire. They are forced to keep working or drastically cut back on their standard of living. You have the opportunity to make a different choice right now. You can decide to be intentional with every dollar that passes through your hands. You can choose to prioritize assets that provide income over assets that only provide a roof. Think about the peace of mind that comes from knowing your bills are covered by your investments. Imagine the freedom of being able to walk away from a toxic job because you do not need the paycheck. That is the real reward of breaking through the wealth plateau. It is not about having a bigger number on a screen. It is about having more options in your life. It is about being able to spend your time with the people you love, doing the things you care about. As you move forward, keep a close eye on your liquid net worth versus your total net worth. Focus on growing the assets that you can actually use to fund your lifestyle. Stay consistent, stay disciplined, and do not let lifestyle inflation steal your future. The journey might feel slow at first, but the momentum will eventually take over. Wealth does not grow in a straight line. It bends upward in a beautiful curve. The work you do today is planting the seeds for the shade you will enjoy tomorrow. Do not settle for being rich on paper while living in anxiety. Break the invisible ceiling and build a life of true exponential wealth and lasting freedom. You have the knowledge, you have the strategy, and now you have the power to act. Your future self will thank you for the choices you make today. Remember that the best investment you can ever make is in your own financial education and discipline. Keep moving forward, keep learning, and keep building. The life you want is waiting for you on the other side of that ceiling. It is time to take the next step and claim the freedom you have worked so hard to achieve.